Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. This is Hunter, Shane, David, and Steven. Say what up, boys.
Hello.
What's up,
Hey,
nerds?
guys.
We are back. This time, we're doing the final Commander Grades video for Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. If you haven't seen any of the other many videos we've done for the Commander Grades for this set, check the description down below where you'll find links to all of the ones you may have missed. This is part 2, though, of the multicolored legendaries from the main set. If you haven't seen part 1 already, once again, in the description, take a look. Like the video if you like these kind of videos. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But let's go ahead and get started with the first multicolored card we are talking about today. This is Mauhur, Uruk-hai Captain. It is a black and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature, Orc Soldier. It has Menace. It says if one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on an army, goblin, or orc you control, that many +1/+1 counters are put on it instead. David, we have Rakdos counters matter? That's different.
Dude, actually, this is kind of unique, and I actually am here for it. So armies don't care about orcs, don't care about goblins. Goblins are freaking dope, and it's very easy to make a ton of them. So if you can put a +1/+1 counter on them somehow, this will double it up. Make all your little 1/1s 3/3s because of that. I mean, that's actually a pretty significant power boost there.
Yeah, we got armies.
This is yeah.
Seems cool.
I mean, it's cool. I like it because it's cheap, but it doesn't really proc itself, so you can't make an army off of this card, which is
True.
half the battle.
You are because he's in battle right there in the picture. Is that what you're saying? That's clever. Probably not, but I think it's a build-around card. Obviously, I don't think it's that good though.
I mean, think about it like this, though, because goblins, it's pretty easy to get out of control with goblins. If you make, I don't know, 10 1/1s, which is really not difficult to do in a goblins deck, and you manage to put a +1/+1 counter on them, this will generate an additional +1/+1 counter. That means you have 10 3/3s. That's 30 power worth of damage that you could potentially be swinging. Like, that's going to get out of control really quickly. And then there are other goblins out there that do synergize really well with this, things like Kranko. So Kranko, the version of him where it's like he makes goblins equal the number of equal to his power, and he puts a +1/+1 counter on himself. So like he's going to get massive with this, make even more tokens. I do think that there actually are quite a bit of different ways that you can use this card to beef up a goblin deck.
I just don't think there's enough ways to put counters in those colors. Let's move on to the grades. David, you seem high on this.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a C.
Yeah, I disagree with you, but I'm still giving him a C too.
I 3 will give him a C.
See, it is, dude.
Well, Mauhur is going to get the average grade of a C. Moving on to Mary, Esquire of Rohan. It is a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, halfling knight. It's got haste. It says it has first strike as long as it's equipped. And whenever you attack with Mary and another legendary creature, draw a card. So it has the potential to come down and swing right away. Maybe with another legendary. If you had a 1-mana legendary that came in turn 1, then you can draw a card. Turn 2.
I mean, the only thing going down here is this grade.
Yeah, this is 2 mana for a 2/2 with haste. I mean, that's awful, and occasionally it might do something more than that, but like the floor on this is not good. This card's bad.
I mean, Boros equipment has and always will be a thing, apparently, Wizard's Eyes. So it's getting first strike.
It's a good thing that you're putting equipment on it. Just make sure that your equipment already doesn't give it first strike.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the grades. Shane, what are you giving it?
I think this card is a D, man. Doesn't do too much.
I agree. As much as I love Boros, Mary Esquire of Rohan is going to get a D from me too.
I'm actually going to give this an F. Just not a big fan of it whatsoever. I think there's a lot more Boros cards that do this way better.
Steven, with his highly intelligent answer and rationale there, totally agree with him. This card's an F.
Mary Esquire of Rohan is going to get the average grade of a D. Moving on to Old Man Willow. It is 2 a black and a green for a star legendary creature. Tree Folk says Old Man Willow's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. And whenever Old Man Willow attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or a token. When you do, target creature and opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. So, this card's only going to get bigger, right? Every time you play a land, it's going to get bigger,
Yeah.
bigger, bigger.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem
that's
too
true.
bad.
It's gonna be a OTK, right? Trying to do one hit, boom, dead.
You are not going to have 21 lands in play, and your opponent is going to just let this happen.
Oh, okay, 2 hits. Sorry.
I don't know. Is it enough where you have to sacrifice something to give something -2/-2? It could potentially kill something that has 2 toughness or less.
Like, yeah, that's cute. That's a way for you to like try to be like, okay, well, this isn't just going to get chump blocked, but I mean, like, it's probably still just going to be chump blocked because it can't push damage through. I'm not a fan of this card. I do think that the ability to sacrifice a token is really neat. So like, you can kill off a glue token that you weren't going to use. But I don't like big dumb beaters, and that's kind of what this is.
This card's not great. You're paying 4 mana for a 4/4 on turn 4, I guess, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you get to give one creature -2/-2. Awful.
More bigger, and more bigger.
Yeah, I don't think it's that great either. Let's move on to the grades for Old Man Willow. I'm giving him a D.
I'm giving him a D as well.
I'm also giving him a D.
I think the standards of Magic need to be better for this for me, so I'm going to give this an F.
Old Man Willow gets the average grade of a D. Next up, we have Mary's friend, Pippin, Guard of the Citadel. It is a white and a blue for a 2/2 legendary creature halfling soldier. It's got Vigilance and Ward 1. You can also tap it to have another target creature you control gain protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. This is like almost like Mom, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, dude, this
Step
is Step
Bro.
Bro.
Yeah, I made that already, man. It's Step Bro.
Yeah. We talked about this whenever this card was originally spoiled.
Yes. What do you think of him being in the command zone?
It's an okay ability. The ward on him is probably just going to be flavor text at ward 1. Vigilance, I guess, is cute, but let's be real. It doesn't matter if this card has Vigilance because you're never attacking with it. So really all that it does is protect another thing, but it can't protect itself. So if your opponent's just like killed this first, your thing can't actually be protected. I don't know. He's kind of weird.
Yeah, he can't protect himself, but that's the same thing as Mother of Runes, right? You only protect other things.
I thought Mom can protect anything.
Mom can protect herself. Mother of Runes, I don't think can.
Oh.
I'm sorry, not Mother of Runes. Giver of Runes.
Giver, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean Mother. I meant Giver.
The card's awful.
Let's move on to the grades. David, what are you giving Step Bro?
I'm going to give him a C just because like that protection aspect at least means one of your creatures is probably unblockable, so you can just kind of use him as a value engine for that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm going to give him a C.
I do think the ability is strong in the command zone. I'm going to give it a C.
I'm going to give this an F.
Oh,
Okay.
Steven, what?
This card is not good. I mean, I'll delve deep into it. I didn't really say anything. I'm just, you have to wait a turn unless you give this haste, and then people can just target your shit then. Like, this card is not great whatsoever. You're giving one creature protection? Like, what's the point?
We just told you. Swing
So-
in.
Okay, so I swing in with one creature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I kill this cheaply, and then I kill something else. Like, for this card to be good, all it's doing is giving one creature protection. There are commanders that do multiple things way better. Like, this card is just awful.
Pippin, Guard of the Citadel, gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to Prince Imrahil the Fair. It is a white and a blue for a 2/2 legendary creature human noble. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token.
That's a fun little pillow forty commander.
Yeah, I mean, it is on each turn, so you can do it on a full turn cycle, right, Dave?
You can do this on your opponent's turns. That's, in all honesty, kind of difficult to be able to continuously draw 2 cards on each of your opponent's turns, though.
Yeah, I don't think this is powerful enough. Making a 1/1 just when you draw your second card. I mean, granted, you could. Let's say your opponent. This is Steven's favorite card. Let's just say they're not paying the Ristic Study cost.
It's such a good card.
Dude, what if you have Ristic and Fish out? Holy shit.
That
That's your 2
means
cards.
y'all are. See, y'all say that. I
It's
don't know
just
if
you,
I've
Dave.
ever. I don't know if I've
just
ever had a Ristic Study trigger. I know that the card is good. I know that the card wins games. I've seen it happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I don't know if I've ever drawn a card off a Ristic Study.
Because we
I have.
are not nice.
We pay our taxes.
I don't
Anything
know.
to add?
This is 2 mana for a 2/2 that at worst does nothing. So, like, I'm actually kind of low on this card.
I'm low on it too.
I'm not terribly low on it. It's a 2 mana 2/2 that does something pretty decent, and obviously in a color scheme where you can easily draw on your opponent's turns. So I don't want that to kind of go down on it. But it's not. There are other things that do it better. So that's my issue with this card.
Let's move on to the grades. Shane, what are you giving the Prince?
I think I'm going to give him a D.
I'm going to give him a C.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to give him a C as well.
D for David.
Prince Imrahil the Fair gets the average grade of a C. Next up, Samwise Gamgee. This is a green and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, Halfling Peasant. It says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token. You can sacrifice 3 foods to return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. That's specific. What do you think about this one, Shane?
It's specific, but I mean, it's 3 things, so that's cool. Artifact, Legendary, Saga, so if you're playing any of those, then you get them to play. You get to play them again. It's kind of slow. I mean, not kind of. It's very slow. So I don't know if that's good, but got recursion. So that's something.
Just got to get rid of those 3 foods, and he makes food every time another non-token comes in. I mean, that's the only bad thing for me. If it just said whenever a creature came in, that would have been awesome.
Might be a little broken, but yeah.
Even with that restriction, I'm going to go ahead and a limb here, and I'm going to say that as of the time of this recording, this is the best food token commander that there is.
Preach.
Oh.
I think that he's pretty easy to exploit. There's a lot of ways for you to be able to, bounce creatures back to your hand and then recast them, or just go infinite whenever it comes to casting things. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. I do think that making food tokens with him is going to be very easy. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could do 3 or more in a turn on a regular basis. And then that last ability there, being able to grab those cards back from your graveyard, is kind of icing on the cake.
Yo, you don't have to cast them, bro. Just flicker. That's just an ETB.
True.
I don't know. I'm very high on this card. I mean, 2 mana for a 2/2, and basically you're making a bunch of foods. And to be honest with you, with this set and just food in general, I think there's tons of ways to do this. And you can just sack them and just go ahead and go search your graveyard for whatever you want. Perfect.
Well, let's move on to the grades. David, what are you giving Samwise?
I'm currently going to give him a C. As we continue to see more support for food, though, I think this is a commander that is going to age very well over time, and I can definitely see him being in a B range category within about the next year or so.
Yeah, I like the prediction. I'm going to join you, though. I'm going to give him a C as well.
Me too.
I'm going to give him a C as well, but only because this puts the historic card from the graveyard to the hand. I think that is really that one little thing that's stopping this from being a really great B.
Well, Samwise is going to get the average grade of a C. Moving on to something that's more than just 2 colors. This is Saruman of many colors. It is 3, a white, a blue, and a black, for a 5/4 legendary creature avatar wizard. It has Ward, discard an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card, and another ability that says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, Each opponent mills 2 cards. When one or more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery card with equal or lesser value than the spell from an opponent's graveyard. Copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This has Steven written all over it.
Nope.
No?
I mean,
No.
it says
Love
mill,
milling.
dude.
I love milling, but for 6 mana, absolutely not.
Well, don't
That-
forget, it's more than 6 because you also have to cast 2 spells.
Yeah,
Also, don't forget that ward ability is really strong.
it is strong, but not as much as you think.
I look at it like this because I know that we talked about Ward on this channel multiple times, but like Ward is really just like it is a worse version of Hexproof. This is like it's a version of Hexproof where it's like you can still target and kill my things.
True.
You got to get rid of something, and if you don't have it in your hand, ain't not targeting.
Ain't not targeting. You heard him.
I don't know. 6 mana is a ton for a commander. It needs to be impactful immediately at that point, and this does not do anything the turn that it hits. And it might not even do anything the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
But how often? I mean, it could very well do something the next turn, right? Because
It could.
you have
It also
6
could
mana.
not.
6 mana, I think you could do it. But I don't know. I like this card a lot. Jane hit it. That ward is nothing to scoff at. You're taking one for the table on saying, hey, I'm going to discard one of my cards to get rid of this. How often are you going to do that?
I mean, probably only 3 times, because by the 3rd time, you're not casting this fucker again.
I mean, yeah, like this he starts expensive and he's only going upwards from there.
Sauron might have something to say about that.
So if I have to discard 1 card to make sure you don't do anything on every single one of your turns, I'll gladly do that.
Let's move on to the grades. I like Saruman. I'm going to give him a B.
I like Saruman too, but I'm gonna give him a C.
See, this is tough for me because, like, I want to give him a C, but after talking about it a little bit more, I kind of want to go down to a D. But I mean, I'm gonna stick with my original gut and say C, just because I mean, if he sticks on the field, you got that protection from the ward and hopefully some counter magic. I mean, it can be devastating. So
I just look at a card like this, and specifically this one, I just read this in my brain over and over again as Saruman of manly colors, and I don't know why. That's just what my brain does. So because of that fun little name, he's going to get a C.
Fantastic. Saruman of many colors is going to get the average grade of a C. Moving on to Sauron, the Dark Lord. It is 3, a blue, a black, and a red for a 7/6 legendary creature avatar horror. It's got ward, sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. And whenever in an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. And whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. Now this is a powerhouse.
This has got a lot going on, dude.
this card is great.
This card
ward-
sucks.
This ward is amazing too.
Ward also amazing here too. But Steven, this card was in your additions to your $300 upgrade to the Precon deck Host of Mordor. What do you think of this card as a commander?
I wanted it to be the helm of my deck, but obviously it's kind of tough. You can't just take a card that's not even in the precon and make it your commander for an upgrade. This card is fantastic. Grixis fun stuff was really fun. Yes, 6 mana is kind of expensive. The ward here, and I know we just talked about ward with the Saruman card. I like this ward a little bit better because legendary artifacts and legendary creatures are usually pretty good for your opponent. So sometimes they don't want to deal with that. And you guys casting spells just makes my orc army a little bit bigger, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts just amassing Orcs 1 every time an opponent casts a spell.
Yeah, the ring tempting you and you be able to discard your hand if you have anything in your hand, and then you just draw 4 cards is pretty great. David, you can
get
shit
so
now.
much flack here, dude. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to compare this to the card we just talked about, Saruman of manly colors. All right. Same cost, right? They're both 6 mana. 6 mana is a lot of mana. This is a 7/6, so it's got a big body to go along with it, which that is cool. The ward on this, I think, is actually worse than the ward on Sauron. I'm sorry, on Saruman. And the reason why is because everybody has a legendary creature in their deck. Not everybody may always have the instant sorcery or enchantment in their hands. So this one is always going to be targetable. The Amass Orcs thing, we've talked about this. I'm not a fan of Amass as a mechanic, so I don't care about that. Even if you have a 10-10 Orc army, it still gets blocked by a 0-1 and does nothing. Whenever the Orc army deals combat damage, the ring tempts you. That's cute. I don't think that the ring tempting you is really all that great whenever you're working with a very large creature. For example, Sauron being a very large creature, the first mode on it really doesn't do anything at that point. So the only thing about this card that I look at is like that last ability. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand, and if you do, you draw 4 cards. If you can somehow get to that ability, that's great. But I have a 6 mana commander in like this massive hate generator sitting around.
Are you sacrificing a 1-to-1 trade your commander for this commander?
Yeah, absolutely I will. Because my commander probably doesn't cost 6 mana. Or if it does, it's probably doing something impactful to justify why it costs 6 mana the turn that it drops. Like, I don't think this card, and I know that this is going to sound weird, I don't think this card does enough. I think most games this is going to sit around, and you're really going to hope that one of your armies can connect. Like, for example, what happened during our 300 precon. And I don't think this does anything.
It doesn't do enough, yet you're going to sacrifice your commander to kill it. Logic.
If I need this thing to die, yeah.
Well, why would you need it to die? It doesn't do enough.
That last mode on there of the discarding your hand and drawing 4, I will say, yes, that ability is powerful. But that requires a setup in this deck. And I know that you're going to talk about like the Call of the Ring or the 2-mana enchantment, whatever it is. There is one repeatable Ring Temptation card.
I was just playing devil's advocate.
I don't know. I'm going to get flack for this. I think that the precon Sauron is actually much better than this.
Let's move on to the grades. I love this commander. I'm giving it an A.
Okay, calm down, buddy.
Well, go, Steven.
This card's a B.
Calm down. 1 grade lower. I'm also giving it a B.
David's contemplating on giving this an F.
I'm not going to give this an F. This card is not an F, but like, I don't know. If everything's going right for you, it still does do some powerful stuff with the discard your hand and draw 4. That is a really powerful effect. I just don't think it's going to do it that often.
I mean, if you had the ring, what's it called? Slip on the ring or whatever.
Call of the Ring. If you have that specific card in play and none of your opponents have decided to counter it or remove it, then yes, this card is good. I'm going to give it a C, begrudgingly.
The average grade for Sauron the Dark Lord is going to be a B. Move on to another Sauron. This is Sauron the Lidless Eye. It is 3, a black and a red for a 4/4 legendary creature avatar horror. It says when Sauron the Lidless Eye enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste until end of turn. Has another ability, we can pay 1, a black and a red. It says creatures you control get +2, +0 until end of turn. Each opponent loses 2 life. Now this is a card that you like more, right, Mr. Rakdos?
This is a card I 100% like more. I like this one significantly more. It's cheaper. It does something immediately, so it's impactful right off the bat. If I do happen to have a mana sink, if I do happen to have like a ton of mana lying around, this card just wins me the game. I can repeat that ability as many times as I can afford to do it, so it pumps up my team and makes it huge. And it's also hurting my opponents at the same time. So I'm actually a really big fan of this card.
I agree with you, David. This card is pretty powerful. It's just not my playstyle.
I can definitely acknowledge the fact that this card is strong. Yes.
And honestly, does it even matter at that first ability? Just gaining control of something when this enters?
I mean, you can use it to swing at another opponent with it, so you can potentially have that like commander go off and die to something in combat, or you are in Rakdos. You're in the best color combination for sacrifice. This means you take your commander, you hit somebody, and then you kill that commander.
Yep. That's right.
So like, this is a creature that I look at and I'm like, this is an ETB that's going to remove my opponent's biggest threat. And it also happens to have another ability on it where if I can sink enough into it, I'll win the game. And like you say that this isn't your play pattern, but like that last ability 100% is a go wide ability. You love token decks.
Yeah, but you're talking about it just draining.
He
I'm not
doesn't
talking
like
about it
that
draining.
color,
It's
dude.
the creatures get +2/+0. If I have like, I don't know, 5 creatures and 6 mana I can sink into that, my potential 1/1s are now 5/5s. I'm sorry, they're 5/1s.
Steven, what do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, I'm trying to like play devil's advocate here, but it's kind of hard because the card does do really well in all aspects that it's trying to do. You know, obviously, I think that the first part of this card, you know, you're really just trying to hopefully have that sack outlet. I feel like, because otherwise, okay, cool, you gain control of a target creature, you swing, the other person doesn't block. Okay, you dealt damage, and then they just get it back. So. I do love that sync ability for the 6 to get the +2/+0, and then each opponent loses 2 life. I think that's super strong. I don't know. I mean, it's good, but yeah.
Let's move on to the grades. David, you love this card.
I do. I'm much higher on this card. I'm gonna give this card a B.
I'm going to join you. Sauron the Lidless Eye is going to get a B from me too.
Yeah, I'll give it a B.
I'm actually gonna give it a C. I think it is very strong, but I think that people are gonna hold up counter magic for this fucker.
And they're not
Sauron,
gonna hold up counter magic for the orcs. Never mind.
Sauron the Lidless Eye is going to get the average grade of a B. Next up, Shadowfax, Lord of Horses. It is 3, a red and a white for a 4/4 legendary creature, horse. Horses you control have haste. As a reminder text, they can attack and tap as though they come under your control. And whenever Shadowfax, Lord of Horses, attacks, you may put a creature card with lesser power from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking.
Why the
Look.
fuck did you read that reminder text?
Because Shadowfax shows us the meaning of haste, Shane.
Ah, damn it.
There you go, dude.
Wah.
It's not a train or a Phyrexian warhorse. It's just a normal horse.
What do you think of this card, Shane?
It sucks.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Did you know there are 17 other horses in this color, including one, Bill the Pony?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think horse tribal is my thing, man.
Doesn't really have to be horse
Doesn't
tribal.
need to be horse tribal. I was just giving you horses, but this is very similar. I mean, it's not Kalia, but I figured I would go to you because it does the whole when it attacks, you can put a creature card tapped and attacking from your hand.
Yeah, but it's got to be.
Granted, it's got to
Yeah,
be lesser
littler.
power.
Yeah, I get it. It looks like you can play cool things, but I'm gonna say you're probably not.
I think we should. I think you need to hold your horses there.
No.
I don't think.
Shane,
this
I
is
think you
actually
mean
like.
nay.
I don't think this is like Kalia, because Kalia cheats in big things to beat people to death. I think this is more like Winota, where you cheat in small things to lock your opponents out of the game because you're like cheating in all those little, like hate bears and stack style effects, and you're like just prisoning out the board. I mean, we always talk about it how free spells are good things. This is a free creature.
I mean, Winota's better. Winota doesn't have a stipulation on how big the creature is either.
I'm not saying that this is better than Winota. I'm saying it plays kind of like her.
I mean, it doesn't because Winota still is just like Kalia.
I think we're on the top of the library.
It's from the library, yeah.
Yeah,
Top
so
6.
these are all different. You guys all suck.
Like whenever I play like a Winota deck, I don't play it to cheat in like gigantic things. I play it to cheat in like little itty bitty little things so you can lock up the board state. That was my comparison.
I gotcha.
I don't like this.
Steven, you got anything to add before we go to grades?
I mean, being able to put in one creature that's a 3/3, I guess, is pretty good. I mean, David's opinion on the little itty bitty guys. I mean, they can be impactful in the game. I think this card would shine a little bit more if you had multiple, combat steps. I think that's kind of where this card would shine the most. And obviously, you're in Boros, so you're,
Just
going to have that
cheat
fun.
in your stacks effects, right, David?
I mean that was my argument. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I was agreeing on David's point, and pretty much just adding the fact that in the color scheme you're in here, being able to have multiple combat steps wouldn't be that hard.
Well, you better be attacking someone without anything on their field because I'm blocking your stacks, creatures.
Not if I
Not
have
if I've already
horsemanship.
stacked you out.
Yeah, well, then you're going through a lot of hoops here, buddy.
I don't think horses are allowed to have horsemanship. Just on flavor, horses can't ride horses.
Moving on to the grades. Shadowfax from me is going to be a B.
I'm gonna go to a C with this card. I think it's really great. I love the fact you can cheat stuff out, but I think it's a lot of setup, and for 5 mana, it's a little bit aggressive.
It's a middle of the meh for me. It's a C.
Yeah, this card is a C, as much as I like it.
Shadowfax, Lord of Horses, gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to Shagrat, Loot Bearer. It is 2, a black and a red for a 4/4 legendary creature Orc Soldier. It says whenever Shagrat, Loot Bearer attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it. Then amass Orcs X, where X is the number of equipment attached to Shagrat. What do you think about this?
No. Rakdos equipment matters. It's kind of weird for me. I mean, I do like it. I mean, you basically get 2 creatures just for equipping something to Shagrat. That's kind of cool. Being able to attack and attach it for free is always great. I mean, I'm sure there's something really cool. It's not my play style, so I don't really care for it.
Yeah, I wish a little Shaggy had haste.
Shaggy. I like it.
I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I don't really care for that. I mean, there's ways to give haste and Rakdos.
Well, yeah, there's ways to do everything. There's ways to do a bunch of cool stuff, but you could just cast this and do nothing, which kind of sucks.
I mean, cheating on the equipment cost is pretty nice. And then also, there are other people at the table that are going to be playing with equipment as well. You can always just steal one of theirs. So that's kind of cool too with this. But like you guys mentioned, this is 4 mana. It's kind of slow. It needs to attack to do anything. And then even the payoff here, I'm not a fan of amass. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that one. We just talked about a horse.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain is just going.
Talked about horse. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good. Like you said, I do like the ability to cheat the equipment costs. That's awesome. And then, who knows? Make that orc big enough to where you can start blocking. Don't even need to
I mean,
attack.
I do love the fact. I just thought about what you said, David. I apologize, but just take anyone's equipment.
Let's move on to the grades. Shane, what are you giving it?
I think I'm going to give him a D.
I'm not going that low. I'm giving him a C.
I'm gonna give him a C as well. I think being able to take somebody's boots is pretty fun.
I mean, that is hilarious. They can always just pay later on to move it around again now. I'm going to give him a D.
Shagrat Loot Bearer is going to get a average grade of a C. Moving on to Sharkey, Tyrant of the Shire. It is 2, a blue and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature avatar rogue. It says activated abilities of lands your opponents control can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. And Sharkey, Tyrant of the Shire, has all activated abilities of lands your opponents control except mana abilities. And mana of any type can be spent to activate Sharkey's abilities. This is weird.
So, do we want to just go ahead and say the grades at the same time, or how are we doing this one?
You know how we talk about cards that sometimes you're like, man, this card does nothing. This card actually does nothing.
Unless you're playing like a land matters deck.
Nothing.
No, unless your opponents are playing like a land matters deck. He's got the abilities of your opponent's lands that are not mana abilities. So the vast majority of lands, he doesn't do anything. And then if the off chance that your opponents are playing with something else, then I guess that's fine. But
this is a very bad card. When I was opening up packs, when I saw this as my rare, I got super sad. When I was doing the prices for the cards, it turns out this is the cheapest rare you can open. And I believe it's currently 9 cents, and for good reason.
I wonder why.
For 4 mana, you could have a Rogue's Passage in your command zone.
Or you can just have a Rogue's Passage.
Actually, Hunter, you have a bunch of facts. I'd like to go ahead and throw a fact out.
Okay.
This is currently in 15 decks.
In or the Helm?
The Helm.
those
which
poor
gives it
15
a 0.001% of all decks on EDH Rec.
Those poor 15 people.
Look, no shitting on the 15 people who decided to try and build this, okay? All right. I like to build decks all the time, and this one is definitely a puzzle. So props to them.
Moving
1,000
on.
piece puzzle.
Moving on to the grades. Sharkey, I think we can all agree here. This is an F for me.
It's an F for me.
It's an F
F.
for everybody.
Average grade for Sharkey is going to be an F. Moving on to a better card. Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. It is 4, a black and a green, for an 8/8 legendary creature, Spider Demon. It has Death Touch and Ward 2, and it says other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. And whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a food artifact. With pay 2, tap it, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life, and it loses all other card types. That's a good card.
It's a great card.
I don't think it's big enough for me.
Don't think it's 6 mana for an 8/8 with Ward 2 and Death Touch is so much value.
Okay, real talk though, most spiders have reach, and it actually does kind of bother me that this card doesn't.
The rock spider.
You can put an equipment on it that gives it reach, right?
I shouldn't have to.
Shouldn't have to. Here's your number crunch if you want other spiders in your spider tribal deck. This has 68 other spiders in these colors. Go ahead and throw in here. Good
Yeah,
value.
most of those are bad.
Card is still good.
I'm going to go through my list of criteria here. All right, 6 mana is a lot. Does this do anything the turn that it drops? It actually doesn't. Does it have relevant abilities?
It's an 8/8 with Death Touch. I think that's pretty relevant.
Okay, let's talk about relevant abilities. It is an 8/8 with this flavor text of Death Touch, because let's be real, it's an 8/8. It doesn't need Death Touch. Anything that's bumping up against this is probably going to die. It's bigger than what should probably be anything else on the board. Ward 2 is cute. It's not enough to really like prevent this thing from dying, just a minor tax. Other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. If you want to build this as Spider Tribal, then that's going to be relevant then, but I don't think most of the other spiders are actually all that great. There are a couple of cards out there like Arachnogenesis and things like that, that like you can go off and make spider tokens, which I think are really cool, and those cards could probably be included here, but most of the actual spiders I don't think are very good. And then the last ability requires that this actually like hit something, and it's a really cool effect. I just think this card is actually kind of really slow.
Dane?
But when it gets going,
I really want to like this card. I think that Shelob is really cool. I love the fact that it is it's 6 mana for an 8/8. I was joking around at the very beginning that this card should have been bigger. It's massive for its cost. I think that's really neat too. And it says a lot of really cool things on the card, but I think that ultimately none of the cool things it says are actually all that important or relevant.
I like the card. Even
I love the
yeah.
card. No, man. I mean, I think everyone kind of touched up on it. I think that the food, in quotations, that it makes with the ETBs and the static abilities could be very beneficial. There's tons of artifacts that will allow you to tap Shelob and ping something for 1, and obviously with Death Touch, it'll die. So that could be very, very aggressive. And you don't even have to attach it to Shelob. You can put it on one of your other spiders. And there's tons of cards that can actually make you spiders. So, I mean, I think that this is a pretty fun card, especially being in green-black.
Let's move on to the grades. Steven, what are you giving Shelob?
I'm giving this a B.
I, too, am giving Shelob a B.
I'm going to give her a C. I just think she's a little too slow for anything bigger than that.
I'm at the C as well.
Shelob is going to get the average grade of a B. Next up, Smeagol, Helpful Guide. It is 1, a black and a green for a 4/2 legendary creature, Halfling Horror. It says at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, the ring tempts you. And whenever the ring tempts you, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped under your control, and the rest into their graveyard. That's really mean.
I love this card.
It's a good ramp.
It's ramping from your opponent and throwing all the rest of the cards into their graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
This screams mill, but not blue, doesn't it, Steven?
Yes, I mean, especially in the color scheme here, I mean, there's tons of ways to get creature cards from other players' libraries, and the fact that you're able to basically constantly hit that land drop with the ring tempting you because you're in a color scheme as well to basically sacrifice your own creatures. I mean, this is great, man. I really do enjoy this card.
I'm gonna actually take the opposite stance here. This is 3 mana for, at worst, what is going to be a 4/2. If you don't have enough creature for you to be able to sacrifice off or have it die in some way, this card doesn't do anything really to you. You have to have the ring tempt you, which it can proc itself on that ability, which is neat. But if I am doing something like that, yeah, sure, I am ramping from my opponent. So that's kind of neat. At the same time, I'm also throwing cards in their graveyard, which means I have to be very careful to make sure that I'm not going to be targeting an opponent who can utilize those cards, be able to recur anything or reanimate anything from their graveyard that they'll be able to get ahead on. So I think this is, it's an okay-ish ramp card if things are going right for you. But I do think this is a card that's probably going to piss some people off. People don't like to have their stuff milled, and it could really backfire on you if you target the wrong opponent.
Don't target the graveyard recursion deck. Got it.
I mean,
Bingo.
you say that, but if you should have some element of like some degree of recursion in pretty much every deck.
Maybe. I don't know. Depends on the colors. Let's move on to the grades. Smeagol helpful guide. Steven, what are you giving it?
I'm actually gonna give this a B as well. I think this is solid, man. I really do enjoy this card.
I'm giving him a C.
I'm middle of the road C.
I'm actually going to give him a D. I liked this card a lot initially, but after kind of tinkering around with him, I just feel like he doesn't really do much.
Smeagol helpful guide gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to Strider, Ranger of the North. It is 2, a red and a green for a 4/4 legendary creature human ranger. It has landfall that says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Then, if that creature has power 4 or greater, it gains first strike until end of turn. So technically, this could landfall itself and be a 5/5 with a first strike. That's it.
I mean, it could spread the love. It could target another creature.
Sure, and you can play multiple lands per turn. That would be very powerful. You can give more things +1/+1 and first strike, and then swing with your team if you're going wide. But I don't know if that's enough.
It's not.
Seems a little selfish.
Not necessarily selfish. I mean, it could target itself, but they don't need to.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
It's a fantastic card in draft. It's a big beater that's really difficult because it just like it makes your board huge, and then dealing with a 5/5 with first strike is a pain in the butt. But in Commander, that's really not the biggest creature out there, and the ability is not super impactful.
Yep, which is why this is really good in the 99, but not at the helm for me.
I would agree. It's a support card.
I think we can move on to the grades then on this one. Shane, what are you giving it?
It does a thing tip for me, so I'm going to give it a D.
I'll be there with you, buddy. I'm gonna give this a D.
I too am giving this a D.
All 4 of us will give this thing a D.
Well, in that case, Strider, Ranger of the North, gets the average grade of a D. Moved on to one of the Balrogs. This is the Balrog, Durin's Bane. It is 5, a black, and a red for a 7/5 legendary creature avatar demon. Says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrificed this turn. It has haste. It says the Balrog, Durin's Bane, can't be blocked except by legendary creatures. And when it dies, destroy target artifact or creature an opponent controls. That's doing so much.
But so little at the same time.
Yeah, it's not doing enough.
Aristocrat strategy, right? Sacrifice some stuff, make this cheaper. This swings in, can't be blocked except by legendary. So you really want to block it, you have to sack your commander. And if this dies, then you're killing whatever killed it anyways.
This has 5 toughness, so that's still going to be within range of other creatures. It also dies to every single removal spell out there, too. So I don't think that you're actually guaranteed to push in 7 damage. But what I will say is that this thing costs 7 mana. So you're going to cast this one whole time over the course of the entire game, because once this dies, you're never going to be able to pay for the commander tax.
Yeah, just keep sacrificing things, man.
You're right. I will blow up my board state to try and create a board state.
Bingo.
Well, if you're a aristocraty stratty buddy, yeah, I don't know.
If I'm an aristocratic stratty buddy, I'm not playing this at the helm.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely a support card. Once again,
I don't even know if I'd say that.
I don't think this is even a support card.
I mean, it seems like a powerful card is not in the helm. I don't know.
This is 7 mana.
No, you're never probably playing it for 7 as a support. I'm saying. To be real.
I mean, I don't even know if I'd play this for 5, man. I mean, it's just it. So it can't be blocked except by legendary creatures.
Mhm.
And then when it dies, I destroy a target artifact or creature an opponent
Mhm.
controls.
Mhm.
I'd rather just fucking remove something. like, why am I going to pay 5 mana for this just to die?
Well, hopefully it won't, but whatever. I don't know. I'm not trying to argue this card.
Let's move on to the grades. I am giving this a D.
It does a thing for me still. Giving it a D.
I'm going to give it an F.
I'm going to give this... You know what? No, I'm not. I'm joining Steven. This card is an F. I was going to be lenient. I've changed my mind.
The Balrog, Durin's Bane, still gets the average of a D. Moving on to the other Balrog. The Balrog, Flame of Udun. This is 3, a black, and a red for a 7/7 legendary creature, Avatar Demon. It's got trample. It says when a legendary creature an opponent controls dies, put the Balrog on the bottom of its own library.
Okay, let's all say it at the same time.
F.
F.
Hang on. We got to talk about the card at least, right?
Why?
Do we?
I'm just kidding. Let's move on to the grades. It is an F. This is not a commander. This is not even a good card. Everyone hated this when they first saw it.
Flavorful.
Guys,
That's all it is.
What are you talking about? This card is fucking amazing.
Okay.
I'm moving on.
Okay, if I wanted to build a deck that didn't have a commander, this would be my choice.
Okay.
So
F.
Yeah, it's an F. Sorry.
The Balrog. This one, average grade, F. Moving on to the Mouth of Sauron. It is 3, a blue and a black for a 3/4 legendary creature human advisor. It says when the Mouth of Sauron enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards. Then amass Orcs X, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in that player's graveyard. Mr. Demir, Steven, what do you think of the Mouth of Sauron?
I guess the real question you got to ask yourself is, yo, Sauron, what that mouth do? And the question is, not a lot.
No, that'd be the answer.
No, because I'm saying not a lot.
You said
'cause
the question is not a lot.
I know, but I'm saying not a lot in a question is. This card
This
sucks, dude.
this card could literally do nothing, dude.
I mean, I do like it because it does mill and you are amassing a nice little army.
Maybe.
But you're only really amassing that army off of the ETB of this, not if you're constantly milling. So I hate this card.
Yeah, this is not good. It's only on ETB. And
Okay.
that's it.
But if you are trying to amass, like, this could be the card that amasses for...
You don't like the amassing
You don't.
mechanic.
Yeah,
Don't
stop
even-
it.
Don't.
I don't. But, like, out of all the amass mechanics, this might actually be the best card for it.
No.
Because, like, you mill your opponents, and then you see, okay, well, your opponent has, like, I don't know, 10 instant or sorcery cards in their graveyard. You target that opponent, they mill a couple more. Maybe you get more cards off that to add to the count, and then boom, you've amassed, like, 10.
Listen,
And it
Dave.
still gets blocked by a 1/1.
It still
They're-
does. I'm not saying this card is good. I'm saying for that mechanic, this might be the best card for it.
My opponent's going to see what I'm doing, and they're just going to play Bajuka Bog, and they're going to target themselves.
I don't even think they're going to do that. I don't think that they actually have to even do that.
It's a
I will
joke.
let you have your 10/10 completely blockable, flavorless, no abilities creature.
It's a joke.
Let's move on to the grades. The Mouth of Sauron for me is getting an F.
It's an F.
It's an F.
Yep, it's an F.
Well, that average grade for the Mouth of Sauron is an F. Moving on to Theoden, King of Rohan. It is 1, a red and a white for a 2/3 legendary creature human noble. It says when it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. As a Boros player, this card not good enough. I think it's
Only
just
one thing? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, not just. I mean, yeah, one thing, but it does proc itself when humans enter. You can have Elspeth, Sun's Champion, come in and make 3/1/1 humans. That's pretty cool.
And then 3 creatures you control get double strike.
Sorry, I meant Sun's Nemesis. It's the minus ability. Yeah, you get double strike, man. It's a go wide strategy in Boros. Never saw it.
I mean, double strike is a pretty relevant ability. It's pretty easy for you to be able to make quite a bit of humans in turn. This also doesn't say any non-tokens, so I think it's pretty easy to be able to like make sure you get like 3, 4, maybe 5 creatures with double strike, which can deal quite a bit of damage.
They all get blocked.
I mean, double strike is at least as an ability where if they get blocked, they're probably killing whatever blocked them.
Yes.
What do you think, Shane?
I think that it's mean. And I'll probably lose to this if I played against you.
Yeah. Let's move on to the grades. Middle of the road for me, Theoden, C.
Yeah, I'm right there
Same.
with you. I'm gonna give this a C.
Oh, we're agreeing. I guess C.
Theoden, King of Rohan, gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to Tom Bombadil. It is a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green for a 4/4 legendary creature, God Bard. As long as there are 4 or more lore counters among sagas you control, Tom Bombadil has hexproof and indestructible. And whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control resolves, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a saga card. Put that card onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This ability triggers only once each turn. This screams, Steven.
I mean, we should just move to grades right now, right? I mean, we're all in agreement right here. Right? This card's great.
Go ahead and talk about it a little more, bud.
Oh, God. I don't understand why we just don't give it an A right now. I mean, this card, a lot of people won't agree with me, but I love 5-color, quirky, random, stupid commanders, and this screams me. I mean, a saga commander just sounds so fun.
I agree with you there. It does sound a lot of fun, and it is different, and it's something we haven't seen. And ever since the saga, like the mechanic of sagas as a card has come out, people have been asking for something to deal with more sagas, and here it is, Tom Bombadil. Finally, you get your saga commander. I think it's fun.
The one off thing about this is, from a lot of play testing with it, I have noticed that it's either really good or really bad.
I was going to say, you might not win often, but you're going to have a fun time doing it.
Exactly. And I think that's where I'm at with this card. It's, it kind of brings back that fun magic of Tom, I just, there are some times where you'll hit like a really big saga, and then there are times where you just hit like this really shitty one. Tear it
Dave?
apart, David.
You guys have pretty much covered what I had to say. I mean, look, 5 colors automatically makes this card playable and probably within the really good category. Sagas, I feel like are kind of just weird. It's more of like a meme. You could just kind of like go have fun with this kind of style of deck. So I think it's cute. I don't actually think it's very good, but I mean it's a cool card. It's a gimmicky card.
Well, let's move on to the grades. Tom Bombadil for me, getting a B.
Well, I'll go ahead and say it. This card gets an A.
I'm in the middle of the road. I think it's more of a C.
I am with Shane on this one. I'm also going to give this a C.
Tom Bombadil gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to the final legendary creature of the entire set of Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. This is Ugluk of the White Hand. It is 2, a black and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature, Orc Soldier. It says whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Ugluk of the White Hand. If that creature was a Goblin or Orc, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Ugluk instead. David,
Does this do enough?
does it do enough? That's a great question.
It's a big dumb beater for 4 mana. I know. No.
Sacrifice your goblins and orcs and give 2 counters to himself. And
Yeah. No.
yeah, it's yeah.
I do not like big dumb beaters, and that's
It's
what this is.
unfortunate. It doesn't have any kind of evasion. Granted, you could put something on it to give it evasion, but if this had evasion on it, this would be such a better card.
What do you think, Steven?
Card's garbage.
Cards garbage. All right, well, let's go ahead and just finish it off. Let's move on to the grades. Ugluk, what are you giving it, Dave?
I think I'm gonna give it an F, just because I'm over these. We've talked about 100 and something cards, and this card sucks.
I'm giving it a D. It still does something.
Yep, Hunter, it does something. It's a D.
You know what, Hunter? Shane, you're right. It does do something, so it gets an F.
With that, Ugluk of the White Hand gets the average grade of a D. And that is going to do it for all of the legendary cards
Thank
from
God.
Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle Earth. If you guys made it this far in the video and you're saying, wow, that was a lot of grades, we agree. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought of these grades. Did you agree? Did you disagree? Let us know. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you can keep up to date with all the cool videos that we put out all the time. And in the description, you will find links to every single one of our grades videos. If you haven't seen any of the other ones, click those, watch those. And also, you'll find links to our Instagram, our Twitter, and our TikTok. That's all of our socials at Guys That Magic for each one. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.